I want us to jump into this follow-up stuff. The first time that Jerome showed me what he was doing, it's like similar to Mark saying, I hadn't seen anybody do this. I hadn't seen anybody do this to the extent that Jerome did. My mouth was just open. I said, you need to include this. So, Jerome, did you have any updated slides you wanted to share? You just go through here because I know you wanted to add in a couple extra notes.
Yeah, I want you to just go through. We're gonna go through it, and
Okay.
we're gonna like freestyle based off what you have already.
All right,
So
let's freestyle.
yeah,
I
let's
feel
do it.
cool now. Okay, let's
Yeah.
freestyle.
So, biggest thing I want everyone to understand here is once we've got our version 1 done, the most like people always, how can I get more business? Like we get obsessed with new leads, but it's important that we follow with those leads that we already have. So like whenever I help, like I do CMO work now, whenever I help businesses get more clients, get more customers, I help them follow up. Like that's where you get the win. You help them follow up with people that are already on their list, people that already know them and are aware of who they are. So we're going to get into that. And I'm going to show you how I follow up. You can take some of these ideas, some of these concepts, and you can apply the same thing to your business. Right. So, Leanna. All right. So here we go. Right. Most of us are professionals. We weren't experts as we are now, but we started somewhere, we read a book, a blog post, and we got into something. What you're seeing on this screen is the process, right? So on the very far left, this is why we went through this process today. Over there, you see a person, right? And they have questions about a particular topic. They're not quite ready. They just want those questions answered, right? When you go to Google, people type in, they just have very specific questions. They don't care, right? I'm in real estate, so I'm going to use myself as an example. Or real estate marketing. They don't care what marketing is. They don't care what leads are. They just have questions. How do I get more clients in business? Right. So that's a very generic, right? BJ, that's a very generic question that I address. And I started to build rapport with them because I addressed that specific question or topic that they had and I put it into the book. Right. They just want more information. They don't care about you yet. They don't care about your process. They don't care about how much of an expert you are. They just have those questions answered. And that's why we structure things so simplistically, right? Why it's so basic, right? And that's why we use a book because everyone knows what a book is. They don't understand what a webinar is. They do. They have some idea, but they don't want to be on a webinar. They don't want to get into a consultation. They don't want to get into a phone call, a course, or anything like that, but they understand what a book is. They don't feel pressure like it's a sales opportunity when you send them a book. A book is educational. It's an item, it's a thing. I highly recommend that you take it, not just digital, you go physical too, you get your books printed, but it's a thing. They can touch it. It's building trust and rapport when you send them your book. It's low pressure because now it's not a sales item. It is an educational item. So I'm going to send you a copy of my book versus I'm going to send you a copy of my sales brochure. Nobody wants your sales brochure or your consultation or date, but they would be happy to take your book even if they don't read it. So what I call a book is I call it the ultimate marketing asset. It's the most powerful marketing asset that you can have in your arsenal because it's an educational item, but it's also a marketing item, right? It allows you to demonstrate your expertise. It allows you to nurture your prospects and your customers, right? And it truly provides value. Remember, I said a little bit earlier, people don't throw books away. So you have this marketing asset, disguised marketing asset that's going to sit around forever. And even if they do get rid of it, what are they going to do with it? They're going to donate it to someone else, and that someone else can become a customer or prospect. So on the very far right, you see that's what most people do. It's like, I got all this complicated process, and my thing is so unique and it's so amazing, and nobody cares. Nobody cares about that. They just want whatever they want at the time. And how do we deliver them all of that information in a concise format where they're not scared, overwhelmed, and afraid to do business with us? We do that by providing them with one item, one singular item at first, and that's the book. That's what we're going to do today. So behind that wall of value, that's what most of us try to do. We try to put all of that onto our client, and they're not ready for that yet. They're just ready for one specific thing. They want value, and we have to follow up in a way that's like less overwhelming to them. And this process that you're going to see me take you through today is going to be less overwhelming, right? A lot of us are over. It's so much information on Google. You type in your keywords, and there's millions of information come up. Again, we never get past the first page. So what we're doing in this process is we're helping them and we're making things easier and simpler, okay, by putting it in that book format. All right. So books are potent remarketing and follow-up tools. It's a great starting point, right? So we're all in business and marketing. What is marketing? Marketing brings us clients, customers, prospects. A book is a great starting point for your marketing. So that's where we start, but that's not where we stop, right? It allows us to collect the name, phone number, email, and this is the most important part, the physical address. This is why I like to say, let's go print. Because online, everybody's creating an ebook, this, a free report that, a this, that, and they're sending this stuff to your inbox. And I always ask this question in my class, and people have thousands upon tens of thousands of emails in their inbox. And I'm one of those what do they call it? Inbox zero people. And I still can't keep up with all of my emails. It's overwhelming. It's so many emails. So we go where nobody else is going, and we go in the mailbox, which you see on the third point, snail mail. We go in the mailbox, right? We're tired of emails. It's some people that I absolutely love, but I'm like, it's so many emails in here. I don't know what to open up. And that's how our customers and prospects are feeling too. And remember, us here, we're a little bit smarter than most people, right? We're willing to invest in our education and do these things, right? So imagine somebody that's not as smart or not as committed or not as dedicated as you. Imagine what they're thinking. Like they're not committed to growth, or they're not in that phase, right? They're overwhelmed. They're not as smart as we are. So we want to hit them in the mailbox, and we're going to provide them with real value in the mailbox through a print in a physical format, right? And I call this, right? I learned this from Dan Kennedy, but I call this process Dan Kennedy calls it shock and awe, but I call this process my impressions that stick process, right? Because I make impressions that stick. That's something that I do. So follow-up, right? We're going to create email follow-up, direct mail follow-up. We're going to do online digital stuff, and we're going to also do like SMS follow-up. These are some things that we can do to follow up, and we can always, hey, did you check out the book? Hey, I want you to check out page 231. I have something very specific I want you to see on that page so we can talk about it. Let me know what you think. So we're going to follow up. And once we have this asset, we can always be talking to them about the education or the value that they provided. All right. So next, Leanna.
I actually think the next thing we need to do to get the full impact is for you to show us in person your next thing. I think it has a bigger impact here.
Okay. So follow up, right? And I want you to think about this like a swipe file. I have a swipe file of follow-up assets that I send to people. And it didn't start off this way, so I don't want you to get overwhelmed. But I have a huge follow-up swipe file. Everybody know what a swipe file is, right? It's a file where you catalog your ideas or your stuff, your content, etc. But this is my follow-up process, my swipe file. This is how I follow up with people. And it's a lot, but nobody else is willing to do this. And this is why I win more than my quote competitors, because I have a much better follow-up process. And I'm going to take you through this. I'm going to take you through the why and the thinking behind how and when I use some of this stuff. And I actually have a live client, which I told Leanna, I'm going to do it like live. I'm going to show you why I'm packaging up his package the way I'm packaging it up, because I have an event. I'm hosting an event tomorrow. I'm going to show you why I do it and the science behind that. So, and then you see like all of these books. These are all books that I've done. We did today. We went like straight chat GPT and we use questions, but a lot of you are experts. You've done video content, webinars and stuff like that. A lot of this stuff is just from content that I've created. So it's really my ideas, right? I do at least 2 webinars every week. And I just taken some of those webinars and I use ChatGPT and I turned it all into this physical stuff that you're seeing here. So I'm going to take you through this process. I just love to see Leanna smile. She likes this part. I'm going to take you through this process. I'm going to explain what I do and the science behind it. I might move quickly. If you have a question, just pop in. This is an open forum. Ask any questions that you want. So I'm going to get started. And after this, I have one more thing I want to show you that's not directly relevant to this, but I want you all to see. So first things first, I'm going to take you through all of these books and I'm going to show you just different ideas that I want you to have. So I'm not sure if, all right, so this is my first book, right? I help, and I'm a person that niches down. I help real estate entrepreneurs, right? I help real estate agents, real estate investors. I help real estate businesses, companies. I help the real estate niche. And my main book is called Real Estate Marketing Implementation. That's what I deliver. And a lot of people ask me, like, why this name, right? So just a quick marketing tip. Why this name? Because I'm the only expert on marketing implementation. Nobody else published a book on real estate marketing implementation. So if I'm the only one, I'm the best one. And that's why I created this. This is an authority, right? This is an authority play, and you could do the same thing. That's just an idea. But this is my main book. This is what started everything. This is what starts everything. So this was the starting point of my marketing. And you're going to see some different iterations of it, like some lower, or not lower, but some first versions. So this is the first book, and this is what I send most people. This is how I get most people in the door, right? I have a call or a conversation with people and they have questions. They're trying to figure some stuff out. Hey, be happy to send you a free copy of my book. And I do free because I go after a certain, like, my customers are worth it, right? So I work with a higher caliber, and it's typically worth me, even if I didn't do it myself. The clients that I work with, they're worth me taking time out of my day to go sit down, package that stuff up, because I work with that quality of client. So this is the first book that I'll send. I'll be happy to send you a free copy of my book. Okay. Now, something that I've done and I want you to think about is I have 2 copies of my book, right? And these are hard copies. This is the main copy, and just a little bit of science on why I do it white, because white is much easier to read than any other color. So you'll see one of the things you'll notice about me is I'm always about the customer, the prospect first. And I use white and black because that's what we're accustomed to reading, right? Now, when I want to get fancier and I want people to feel special and do other things, I do other things, right? So a good example is I have that same book and I have it in a limited edition copy, right? So when I want somebody to feel special or super or something like that, what I'll do is I'll send them the same book in a limited edition version. So you can do the same thing, right? Same book, same concept. All I did was change the cover. Limited edition, I like you, you're special, I'm going to send this to you. Same content, but I'm making that person feel different and special, right? And there's different things that I do to, like, even in my funnel, right? If you upgrade, instead of getting this one, I'll send you this one, right? And this is all part of my follow-up package, right? Because I'm making a follow-up impression that sticks. That's what I call my packages, right? Now, so those are typically my real estate clients. That's how I follow up with them. That's the staple book, right? I have other clients, right? And this is why I always encourage people to niche down. But just because you niche down doesn't mean you can't serve other people. So this book is my book that I've done with Leanna. And this is a generic or more general, more broad book. And it's about marketing implementation. And I'm going to show you, I'm sending this to someone a little bit later, but this is my book again. And you can see that same branding. I'm the only one that talks about marketing implementation, right? So I'm the best, right? Something I want you to think about. So this is another book. If I get people that are outside of real estate, they don't want this book because it's too specific to real estate. So I might send them this book, right? Marketing Implementation 2.0. Somebody wants help with marketing, I'll send them a copy of this book that I did with Leanna. If I have a relationship with somebody, maybe somebody in ad skills, what I'll do is, I've done a book with Leanna. I'll be happy to send you a copy. They would be happy to send me their address and their information so I can start to send them their stuff. So that's part of my package, right? That's part of my follow-up impressions that sticks package. Now, I'm going a little bit all over the place, but this is typically what I do. I'll send someone like a welcome package. You're looking at my swipe file, and I'm going to show you like a specific welcome package when we get through all of this. Now, next thing I've done is, and I create books on everything because you're already creating content. You got transcripts. I highly recommend, if you're like creating content, you're doing sales calls, whatever you're doing, record everything possible because it's all content. Everything that you're doing, record it. Your customers, your clients, their sell call, record it. Oh, would you like a recording? Yes. Okay, that's $7. Pay me $7. I'll send you a recording for storage. Different things, record everything, right? So this year I've gotten into what's called CMO work, right? So I published a book on fractional CMO, and this is going to my client tomorrow. Is Jerome, how can you help my business? And I would tell people, oh, I can come and I can do some fractional CMO stuff. And I noticed I kept saying the same thing. They're like, what is that? What does that mean? How does that work? And now I was like, you know what? I'm just going to publish a book on it. So I can send them the book on fractional CMO. And that person, he's a real estate client. So I'm going to send him this as well as this. So he can understand. He's going to get a package. His welcome package is going to contain this as well as this. So he can understand what fractional CMO is, right? He can understand that. So that's part of my package. This is another part. And this was another part of my brand. It's another thing that I created, right? Like what separates you? Like we were on the Ad Skills Pro call and Scott was asking like, what's different about you? What separates you? And this is one of the things that's different about me, right? So marketing implementation, one, not everybody's talking about that. So again, I'm the best, right? Especially specific to real estate. But then two, I'm fast. That's one of my strengths. I help people get things done fast. And I want them to understand that, oh, you want to know what's different or what's separate or what's unique about me? Actually, I have a book on that. Would you like me to send you a copy? Right. And I send them a copy of this book here, Fast Marketing Implementation. All right. Next part of my process, and it's all processes that I go through. So the people that come in, like typically, and I have different avatars and different clients, but I have a real estate client. And one of the things that I was teaching probably for like 3 years on how to get them over video, and they've been asking me questions and process. And guess what I did? I created a book. So here we go, another book, right? And I take this. I didn't make it specific to real estate because I help other people, but this is a book where I teach people how to turn videos into money fast. And this is a part of my process, right? So, Jerome, I want to work with you, but I don't understand what to do. Guess what? I have a book on that. Would you like me to send you a copy, right? And I have all of these different, these are hooks. These are hooks. I have these different hooks, so I have options that I can send and give to people, right? So somebody that's trying to figure out how to do video, I'll send them a copy of this one. Somebody that's trying to understand real estate marketing, I'll send them this one. Like these are different hooks, and I have them because I'm already creating the content. That's what I'm saying. If like one thing that you leave here with today, if you're doing something with customers, prospects, you're having conversations, make sure you record it because that's all content that you can create, turn into a book, etc. Okay. Next, and I serve multiple clients, right? You don't want to start here serving different people. You want to focus on one, then you can start branching out. But I'm also a real estate investor, right? So I help homeowners, and specifically I help homeowners that are going through, and they're not even homeowners. I help people that are in probate. So I have another book on the probate journey. And this one is actually personal to me because I went through this myself, right? It was like lonely, it was confusing. So I created a book on my journey. And now when I go visit those customers or prospects that are looking to sell their house, I'll say, guess what? You know what? I have a book on this. Would you like me to send you a copy? Right. And I collect their information. I can follow up with them later. Right. The key here is like I'm collecting their information. I want to follow up with them. And I get all their information, all the information that we talked about earlier, name, phone, email address, physical address. I get all of this from them because would you like me to send you a copy of my book? And now I can follow up with them in the mailbox where nobody is, where nobody, oh, I don't want to create because it's too much work involved, right? I have higher caliber clients. They're worth more to me. So I will put in the work because I know what it's worth. Along the same lines, this is still serving the people that are looking to sell a house, but it's not specific to probate. And this book is How to Sell, Rent, or Lease Your House Stress-Free. Another hook. Are you looking to sell, rent, or lease your house stress-free? Guess what? I have a book about that. Would you like me to send you a copy? And I don't think I've had anybody say no to me yet. I'm waiting for us. I think I'm at like 100%. I'm still waiting for somebody to say no, but nobody says no to me sending them a free copy of the book when they have a specific problem. I have no no's yet. So that's one of the things I want to emphasize when you go like physical, because again, we're overwhelmed. All of this stuff in our inbox, email this, log into this portal here, do this. Like it's like confusing, overwhelming. And if we could just put it in a concise format, you know what? I'm going to send you this. It makes things easier for people. Again, same concept, right? So when I first started in real estate, I'm a real estate agent too. I would help real estate investors. Kept getting the same questions, same concepts. So guess what? I put it into a book. So I have a book here, Real Estate Investing Secrets, and I teach people, oh, Jerome, learn this, learn that. Guess what? I have a book about that. Would you like me to send you a free copy of the book? And they say yes. Okay, so I got like books on everything. Now this is probably, you can, if you can't tell by now, I'm like I think they call them bibliophiles. You see like books on my background. I got books all over the place because they mean so much. But this same concept here, right? So what we're doing here today on Ad Skills and learning how to publish and like write our books, I teach that process to my clients and my students. And I kept getting questions and blah. And so guess what? I put it into a book. And the name of this book it's not called the Ad Skills, like it's the same process, but I'm calling it something else. So it's called The Ultimate Real Estate Marketing Asset. And this is a book that teaches them how they can create their own book, which I call the ultimate marketing asset. This is a book that takes them through the process that we went through today. This is a book specific to the real estate niche. And something cool I want to deviate is, I don't think I left it generic, but imagine if it was generic. I rip the title off and then I make it, instead of about real estate, I make it about stock options, or, like, so that's another thing that you can do. And I'm going to show you how I've done that with some of my other books in here. But some of these books are the same with a different title and a different headline. Okay. All right. So, and just so you can see different iterations and different ways that I do stuff, that real estate investing book, this is the hardback copy and this is a paperback copy. And it depends on where the person is in my funnel, or how much I like them, how many books I got laying around and stuff like that. But same book, different titles. And I can write different notes and emphasize different things with these same books, right? So that's part of that. This book is no longer in print. So if you want to talk about a terrible book, you're like, oh, my book is terrible, you can always unpublish it. But this is a book, when I was doing like a lot of real estate events, kept getting questions, people kept asking me different things. Jerome, how do you do this? How do you network effectively? Right. And this was, I didn't make it specific to real estate, but I could have. I can republish it and make it about networking as a media buyer, networking as a marketing person. But this is another book. People ask me questions. And you know what? I have a book on that. How would you like if I send you a free copy? In this book, one of the reasons why I unpublished it is because, and I want you to see, is because it's hard for humans to read dark background light text a lot of the times. And it just wasn't like great. So I want you to see, like, it wasn't perfect. I make a lot of mistakes, right? And I want you to understand your stuff doesn't have to be perfect to help you get results out there. So this was another book. I since unpublished it, but just wanted you to see that. This is probably, like I told you earlier, but this is probably my favorite book. And I did make it specific to real estate, but this is a book that the purpose of this book is to help my client or my prospect be more productive. So Scott Bell talked about this last night on the pro call. He said, how can you like add value to people so they can get somewhere faster? Right. And what I'm doing here is I'm helping them get through my content faster. I'm helping them learn and consume content a little bit faster. So this book is productivity hacks and productivity secrets. If I had somebody that's slow, or they don't know how to get through content, or I want them to move a little bit faster, guess what? I have a book on how to be more productive. How would you like if I send you a free copy of that book? Right. So this is what I'm doing inside of this book. That's just another version. Now, this is a book here, another book, right? I got so many books. This is another book, but I think this was the very first book that I published. I think it's still in print, but this wasn't like a actual book, right? So I'm bringing it up for people to understand that it doesn't have to be perfect for you to get results. Essentially what this is it's a long form sales letter squeezed down into the book format. It was a long form sales letter that talks about their pain and their frustrations. And all I did was put it in a different form. Okay. So, and I'm going to show you what it started off as first. So that book is actually, that book is, man, where is it? Oh, I can't find it. I'll find it later, but I have a thicker version of this. This book is this. And like I was saying a little bit earlier, we're used to seeing content in this format, which is like longer format. So I have a thicker version of this, but all this is this. And it's just folded in half, essentially. That's why the book looks like that. So I was talking a little bit earlier, we're used to seeing that long format. Books cut it in half and it increases the expansion. Okay. So there we go there. Now, what I wanted you to see was one of the first iterations of my book. So this was how I first published my book. And you can see it's an ugly looking book. You can't even read it. But this was the book that I became #1 bestseller on Amazon. This was the book that got me on all those stages that you saw a little bit earlier. This was the book that did it. It wasn't perfect. You can see it's actually a little bit thick. It's about 180 pages. This was the first book though. But this is the same book. So BJ, you were talking about expanding. So this is the first version. And this is the last version I have so far. You can see the difference in the thickness. And one of the things that I do strategically that I do since I help people publish books is since I have some of these laying around and I don't want all of them, I'll send them 2 copies of this. And I'll say, I want you to see the journey that I went through, right? You're going to think that your book should be perfect when it comes out, but there's really a transition process. And it goes from this to this. And I wanted you to see both because I want to share and I want to be transparent with you. And I want you to see that you can do the same thing, right? So that's a way that I'm leveraging and utilizing it, right? I had like extra copies laying around. Other book, I think this one is out of publish, but this was for people that just wish to sell their house. So this was I showed you the book a little bit earlier. This book and this book, it's the same book, right? But this one is now expanded and I added more stuff to it. That productivity book that I showed you, this book and this book is the same thing. So you can see it's kind of ugly because I did it. I did the cover. And then when it started to make more sense financially, I hired a graphic designer to redesign the book and the cover for me, right? So same book. And that's what I send to people when I want them to be more productive. And so I showed you this book, like this was an ugly iteration. And I was so proud of it too. And the gentleman I was telling about, Ron LeGrand, I gave it to him. He was like, I can't read that, son. And I was like, oh my God, the man that published the foreword can't even read the book. So I had to go adjust the book and I adjusted it and I changed it to this. It looks a little bit better, right? And one of the things I'm really big on is clearly communicating what's the benefit of the book. So I don't like to be fancy. I like that this is what you're going to get. That's my style. I want you to see this is what you're going to get. So that book has went from this ugly book that I was so proud of to this one. And now it looks like this. And I like this one a lot. So hopefully nobody tells me it's ugly. So, all right. Now, those books, one of the things that I like to include with my books is I like to include other stuff because some people are just not going to read the book. So I like to include other items with the book. And if there's anything that you're absolutely going to include with your book, it is what's called, I might be messing it up. It is a lift letter. I think it's called a lift letter, but it's a sales letter and it's instructional and it tells them exactly what to do with you or the book. So in this case, this is a sales letter. I send this when I first started, they would only get these 2 items because that's all I had. And this letter had driven more sales than this book because the letter is more concise and it's more specific. And it's like, hey, I just sent you, I'll tell you what it says essentially. Say, hey, I just sent you my book. It's a long book. Yeah, because marketing is complicated, right? That's why I get paid. If you want to schedule a call with me, let's do that, right? And that's what the letter is saying. It's like, congratulations for purchasing the book. That's awesome. Here's what you can do. If you don't want to read the book, here's how you get results immediately. And this instructs them to set up a call with me. All right. So bottom line of that is when you write your book, you absolutely want to include a sales letter with it, whether it's digital or physical, but you want to include other stuff, instructionals that tell people, encourage them to read it or encourage them to schedule a call with you. So BJ, a good example is I would publish my book, but then I would say inside of here, I would let them know it's generic, it's not specific. They should schedule a call with me. And I have another book coming, but if they don't want to wait for that other book, just schedule a call with me. Like these are other things. You can instruct people to do other things. So that's the biggest thing that I want to do. But the book for all of us here is the staple to get in the door. When you tell us, I'm going to send you a free copy of my book, they say yes. And that opens the door for you to send them other things. All right. So here's something else I include. These are reports and things that we do. This is the 11 social media mistakes that can kill your real estate business. And I'm not sure if I turned that into a book, but this is a report that I include, right? So they just ordered the book, but they might not be ready to read all about real estate marketing implementation. But some immediate value that they can get is 11 social media mistakes that are killing their real estate business. So they might open this up. And guess what I have in here? Of course, I have call to actions. Hey, you can buy the book, or you can schedule a call with me, or you can go download my course. So these are other items that I'm including. They add value, but they're also encouraging them to take action and do business with me. This is my as seen on. So if you've spoken somewhere, you have other clients, you can use case studies. This is something else that I include. So it's not all about just the book. It's the stuff that we put around the book, right? So I do speaking. So I've included I was on with Leanna and she talked, it was like an EPK. It was an electronic press kit. So this is like basically an electronic press kit. It's not as professional as Leanna's, but this is an electronic press kit that I'm including. I'm letting them know I do speaking engagements as well. If you want me to do that, you want me to come to your brokerage and speak and teach people how to do this stuff, you can check me out. And it's just my bio and the logos, the different places I've spoken for. It's only a few more in there. I got to get ad skills in there, but then I got a list on the back, different speaking engagement I've done. So I've done a lot. And if I sent this all in email, it would be overwhelming, right? Which email do I click? Do I leave it open? Blah, blah, blah. But when I send this to them in a package, it's easier to consume and digest and go to it when you want to go to it. Now, my favorite thing to, and I will appreciate for everyone here, give us feedback on this workshop, like what you learned, your biggest takeaways. But my favorite thing by far that I include is testimonials. So when I first started, I only had a few testimonials, right? Because people don't believe what you say, they believe what other people say about you. So this is a testimonial package, and I've taken screenshots and quotes and different things from people, and it is 36 pages long. 36 pages of testimonials of my clients and customers and prospects, all the results that I've gotten for them. This is what I was saying when I first started. This has since grown. I'm telling you, this is my favorite part. This has grown. I'm going to show you a little bit later. So that's grown. And I think this is the second iteration of it. So I guess what I did. Can anybody guess? I turned it into a book. So now that's a book. And this is the second iteration. This is 170 pages of testimonials, client results, etc. And I'm sending this to my customers, prospects. And the thing that I want to emphasize is that my customers, my prospects, they're worth it. So I go through it because they're worth it, right? So testimonials, 170 pages, right? But it's since grown, and now it is, where is it? So now it is 375 pages of testimonials, right? So these are all client testimonials, results, etc. And even if they never read the book, they might open up this thing like, man, this guy, why would there be 375 pages of people saying this guy is great? A whole book, right? Can you imagine, like when you go on Google, you're not going to go through 300 testimonials. You probably won't even in this book, but just the form that it's in is like, wow, 375 pages. This guy sat down, put all these testimonials in here of the results and the different things that he do and get for his clients, right? So this is something that I'm sending to my customer. And this is my favorite part of my whole entire package. I'm telling you, I love getting feedback from other people. And I don't think I said this yet, but I'm an introvert, y'all. So I don't like talking a lot. I don't like bragging, but you got to do it sometimes. So I really love this because it allows me to take a step back and not make it about me. It's about what other people are saying. So this is my favorite part of my package. I make sure everyone gets a copy of this, right? Like, what do I do with a book of 375 testimonials? I don't know. Probably won't throw it away, right? It's going to sit around like, man, this 375-page behemoth of testimonials is always on your desk or on yourself or something like that. So that's my favorite part of it. Now, the foreword. So one of the things that I do is inside of your book, you can splice it out. You can break it up to different pieces and parts. So one of the things that I did, because I was so happy and it was like such a highlight of my life, of my business career, was that the foreword that Ron LeGrand wrote for me in my book. I included it in the book, but I also took it out because I wanted to highlight it as well. So I took the same book content and I just added, look, check this out. It's so great that I had Ron LeGrand publish my foreword, and you can do the same thing. You can start to break out a chapter, a foreword, a quote, and you can include that in your package, right? And I highly recommend you do this all physical, but you can do it digital too. Like you can take some of these concepts and these ideas and you can do it digitally as well. But this is just the foreword, and I broke it out and I send it individually as well. I was teaching, I think this is the first book I published. I might have said that. I don't know. I lose track now. But this was a book, and all this is I used to teach a video marketing webinar to real estate entrepreneurs every week. And all this is the webinar, right? So it's just a webinar and it's transcribed. You can open it up. I got my business card in here, right? So Some people give out business cards. I give away a book and a business card. But if you open this up and you see it, it's just my webinar. You can actually see the slides inside of the webinar, but they get to read through it and they get to actually have it versus like them having to maybe log online or anything like that. This is an actual webinar transcribed. You can still see the slides. This is like the very first book that I've ever done. So here we go. I'm almost done, y'all. I'm almost done. So this is for my clients that I work with. They have issues with planning and following up and setting goals. And so I'm like, how can I solve this? What's something that I can give? And theme of Scott Bell, what can you give your customer and prospect to make their job easier and also your job easier? I create an entire goal and business planner for them. So when you work with me, you're on board, you got a goal planner, and you sit down and you write out your goals, right? So I'm thinking about you, BJ, you talk about a checklist, right? Maybe they need to go through certain processes and they need to write them out. You give it to them in a book. And all of this stuff that you're seeing individually, you can also include this in your book. You can include this in your portal. You can send this different stuff, but I'm making sure I'm giving them value by giving them this stuff. And I'm telling you, I'm a big fan of go physical, right? So take the process and the things that we're learning today, go physical. And my process didn't start out this way, right? I started out with one book. I printed out the foreword and I gave them testimonials. It started off like that. And every time I created more content, I would make more things that I can give them. So here we have this is a companion guide. And the cool thing about this is if you do slides, I highly recommend that you do slides. If you teach something to someone, do slides because you can turn those slides so easily into content. So I think this is like a year's worth of maybe like 50 presentations that I've done. And all I did is taken all of the slides of all those presentations and just put it into a book. No text, no explanations, no introductions. It's just the slides of what's happening. It's like you can take notes if you want. And they probably never will, but it's another book that's going to sit on their desk that they're probably not going to throw away. And they're going to always be thinking about me. All it is, I'm telling you, all this is just slides with lines next to them. That's it. But it's a tool, it's a book that they can actually have. So big fan of like if you're teaching, you're presenting, use slides. Now, this is probably the final, there's like one follow-up asset that you're going to take and that you're going to do today. It's this, and this is a newsletter. Highly, highly recommend that you do a newsletter. Now, and I'm not talking about a digital newsletter. You can do that too, but I highly recommend that you do a physical newsletter. You only have to do 12, one per month. And this newsletter, remember how I said the ultimate marketing asset? I call this the ultimate follow-up marketing asset because now you got somebody into your funnel and you're going to follow up with them at least 12 times. Most people get you in their funnel, they give you your thing, and then you never hear from them again. I make sure they hear from me constantly, at least 12 times per year by physical mail, right? They don't have to go through the inbox and figure out. So it can be paid or it can be free. This newsletter, very strategically, I include it in an envelope. And the reason why I include it in an envelope is because I can include other things in here. I can include coupons, vouchers, letters. I can include so many other things in here in addition to the actual newsletter and the content that I'm giving that customer or prospect. So I highly recommend you do a newsletter, and I recommend that you put it in an envelope. And I have like a slide and I got references and stuff like that. We can include it later if like Leanna can unlock that stuff. But I highly recommend you do a physical newsletter because of that, right? It's got QR codes over it, right? I was thinking my thinking was I doubt the mail person will ever scan it, but it's got a scanner, a letter on a QR code, and this gets other people into my funnel, right? Go here and learn about, this was a challenge that I was running in March. Go here and learn about the challenge, and they can just scan here and get into my funnel. So that's a newsletter that I recommend. I'm going to go through the newsletter and tell you some pieces of it so you have some ideas, and then we can like stop and take questions or anything like that. So this is my newsletter, and you can see I love QR codes. When you go physical, you can do that, right? Because they just whip out their phone, they scan it, and they go to your video, your website, your whatever you want them to do. They just whip out their phone and use those QR codes. This is what it looks like. Doesn't have to be a lot of content. You can see it just one big picture, another smaller picture, QR code, and some text. Your newsletter can be like this. And this newsletter is 28 pages. I have a mentor, and he only sends one-page newsletters. So I don't want you to get overwhelmed. It's physical. one page, front and back, and that's what he sends. But he's touching his customer, his prospect, at least once per month. Okay, so I want you to keep that in mind. Like it's important. Like, yes, the content is important, but what's important as well is the touch, right? Who else is sending this information and doing this? Nobody. Nobody else is doing this. So this is what separates us. Inside of my newsletter, the content that I include is informational content. So I'm a Dan Kennedy student. I use informational content, about 40% informational, 60% like fun stuff, right? This is a key. So a lot of us are going to think that people want all information. They don't. They want to have fun. And two stories that come to mind is I got a call from this woman. I was like, you're getting the newsletters, right? And she was like, yes. I love the mom and the dad jokes in the newsletter. I send them all this information, right? But inside of my newsletter, I have mom and dad jokes. And that's what stood out to her. Okay, so I want you to include fun things in your newsletter in addition to the informational stuff. Don't go all informational. And remember, like what I'm doing in my process, I'm a little bit further along. Yours doesn't have to be like this, right? You can start off very simple. I'm telling you, I have a mentor, one-page newsletters, and that's what's working, and that's what he does. Inside of my newsletter, I got pictures, right? Very simple, just pictures of an event that I held in person, and I'm just explaining it a little bit. That's the informational content that we all like to do. We like to overload people with information sometimes. And then I got in here just some stuff, some persuasive content. People don't pay until they pay attention. I like to work with people that pay. So I talked about that. It was like a little bit of a rant. I include that in my newsletter, warming them up and helping them understand my personality. I have events. So I have a calendar events inside of there. You can scan that and learn all about that. Man, there we go. My theme, right? What is marketing implementation? So I'm letting people know what that is. I'm explaining that in a checklist format. This is 10 questions. What is marketing implementation? And I explain it. And then I go to, if you're interested in marketing implementation for your business, go to my website and join my challenge. I was running a challenge at the time. So this newsletter is all about like a challenge. This was a email sequence that I sent out, and I'm just bragging a little bit. Look, we got over 15,000 in course sales in 7 days. So I'm showcasing that as a case study. Quotes. This is an easy way to make your newsletter better. So I have pictures of Robert Kiyosaki. You've seen that picture, and you'll see me use that picture over and over and over again. You can reuse it, right? So these are some quotes. So inside of my newsletter, I just have one single quote by Robert Kiyosaki, and I'm using that to showcase, look, I was with Robert Kiyosaki. Here's a quote by him, and I'm making it relevant to my customer on every time. Oh, guess who was in here? So this is from March. I feature Leanna inside of my newsletter because we did a podcast together. So I wanted to feature her, and we just had a lot going on that month. So I feature her inside of my newsletter, right? And I was like, hey, this is Leanna. We did some great things. If you want to listen to the episode, go scan this QR code. Okay, so we have that there. And it's that episode. And I was talking all about that. And they can go to my podcast and listen to that podcast specific to Leanna, or they can go listen to any other podcast. Testimonials. So the testimonial book that you saw like earlier, I just take some of those, right? I reuse a lot of content. I took some of those and I put them all inside the newsletter, right? They were relevant that month, so I just put them inside of there. These are the new testimonials and case studies that came in this month. I want you to see them, right? To show that it's the real deal. And I did 2 pages of testimonials. So those are in there. Always making an offer. Don't forget about the services we offer. We offer advertising, lead generation, social media, websites, funnels. We offer this stuff, and I'm reminding them, don't forget, we do that stuff. Call us anytime. Have a course. Hey, you want to learn how to do this stuff yourself? Have a special going this month, $500. Go get your copy. New members, anybody that signed up for the month, I want people to see people are always joining. I have that in there. And this is the fun stuff that I was talking about. Word search puzzle. So this is a word search puzzle specific to real estate. It's words, keywords that are relevant to real estate, right? So we work a lot. I want to relax and play a word search puzzle or do some Sudoku or some word scramble, but I make it relevant to my business. So this is This is the best marketing asset, the newsletter, because you get so many things in there, right? So everything we've done today, that gets us into the door. And then we're going to make sure that we follow up with this newsletter. And it could be one page, right? This is Sudoku. This is a maze. These are different things. Even my kids, they play with like my stuff, right? When I have some left over. So, and imagine what the customers and prospects kids are doing, or they have someone in their office, right? I had someone in my office and I put that newsletter there, and there are some games and stuff that customer or prospect can play. So that's my favorite marketing asset. I know I went a little bit fast, but we can watch the recording a little bit later. Make sure you follow up. Okay. So there we go. That's the what I call the ultimate follow-up asset. And everything that you saw was my impressions that stick package. Okay. Any questions?
So wait, first of all, with the funnel that I showed you guys in the beginning, there's several upsells. So Jerome has a funnel where you can buy his book, but then he has all these other upsells. Once they buy, if they buy all the upsells, it's now worth it for Jerome to send them the impressions that stick welcome package. So you don't send them that whole thing, right, Jerome? You put in, you're sending them the book. What else are you
Yeah, I'm
putting in that
sending a
welcome
book. I don't
package?
send them the entire thing. So just so you can understand, like typically, I've changed my funnel. We're always testing, but I kept saying my clients are worth it because they're worth me going through some of this stuff. They don't get everything. This is a swipe file. But some people like, man, I was supposed to do this live, but I have a customer that is, I'm going to do CMO work for. So I'm going to create him a package, and it's going to include my book on real estate marketing. It's going to include my book on CMO work. It's going to include the testimonials. And I might include something else here that I find relevant to him. I'm going to give him, I'm actually not going to buy that stuff for him. I'm going to give him that stuff because I want to make that impression that sticks. So he's going to leave. We're doing an event. You're going to leave that event with this package of stuff that he has to do something with. And it's informational, and he's like ready to come on board. And I just need to get him like a little bit over the edge. Like, here's what we're going to do. He asked me what a fractional CMO was. So that's going to be the staple of the package in the book that I give him.
Right. So when they buy your book and they buy some of your upsells, like if they buy his book and the course, then Jerome can send them this
Everything.
customized welcome package. And the
Yep.
newsletter is this, it's just, Alex, just think of it like an email newsletter follow-up. That's what he's using it for. Okay. So it's just, you can sell it as a paid newsletter if you want, but he's just using it as a follow-up.
Yes.
Let me just go back through some of the questions. First of all, while you were talking, Jerome, a whole bunch of us were texting you. Because
Okay.
they wanted to know why what happens when they text the phone number in your name. So in
When
your
they,
name here
when,
on Zoom, you have a text number as part of your name. Did you know
oh,
that?
weird. Oh, yeah. It's just my phone number. That's my personal phone number.
So you
Yeah.
got a
You
bunch
get,
of texts. And somebody said, what software are you using for the text reminders?
I'm using Go High Level for just about everything.
Okay. Let's see. I'm just trying to see what you did. How do you make customized envelopes like the newsletter one?
Canva.
And you just send it to be printed.
Yeah, I just send it to be printed. Yep. So I use Canva. I design it up. I get it pretty. Then I send it to get printed. Yep.
Okay. Yep. All right. I think those were the questions in the chat. Oh, first of all, I love watching Jerome do this presentation because to me it's like and there's more and there's more, and it just I've never, tell me if you guys have seen this. I've never ever seen anybody have follow up to this extent, and I've never met anybody who has their own book of testimonials. So it's absolutely awesome. Let's see. Emmanuel says, "Where do you send the envelopes we printed?"
I have a I have a vendor. There's different vendors. What's the name of it? It's called, I can't think of the name right now, but her name's Cindy. I just send everything to Cindy and she handles it for me.
Yeah. I would recommend actually that you befriend a local printer. We've done that here in Toronto, and he's going to give us discounts. He's going to go out of his way to help us whenever I have like a printing job. So like he prints everything because my mom has a private school here too, and so we get the flags printed, we get all our stuff printed. I can go to him to get printed stuff, and I'm building now a relationship right with another small business in the area. So I when you're doing printing stuff, I would recommend for you to do that as well. You can also there's some other bigger printing places, that you can use, but that's really more for if you're printing at volume. Okay. So if you want to print like 100, 500 books all at once, like let me know. I have some contacts that, that they can actually do that for you. But just again, you can just do it locally. The other thing is, if you don't want to have everything in your house the way Jerome has to package it together, you can hire a service to actually do that. I'm actually going through that. My daughter's starting a sticker store with Trey Llewellyn's program, and we're doing that where we actually have things set up. I can share that actually with you guys, how we're having it set up. We're using ShipStation and ShipZoom together, but some of the fulfillment services they do check you out. So you have to make sure you have like your website up. You have to look like legit because they only want to work with established businesses, but they will do that. And you have to give them everything to, and how you want it packaged. So, but it does cost more, right? Because you have to pay them to like package it all together how you want. So it depends what you want to do. But yeah, you can absolutely do that where nothing actually shows up in your house, and the service can actually do that for you. Disk.com, disk.com, they also do this. I know the owner. So if you want to do it on a bigger scale, let me know. I can introduce you to the owner. Amy Porterfield uses them. He told me that she just hired them to send out like subscription boxes, like a welcome box as well for that. So you can really kind of go a bit crazy, depending on what you want to include in the welcome package.
Yeah, and just so here, I use a combination. Some of it I do, and then some of it I just outsource. Like when it's somebody that's really like Leanna has what she calls the red carpet. Can you tell us what that is?
Red velvet rope policy.
Red velvet. So yes.
Yeah, which I recommend everybody have. In a nutshell, it's you write out the characteristics of not just your ideal client, but the type of person that if you work with them, you end up doing your very, very best work. Like this is the person where you just jump out of bed in the morning. You're like, yes, I can't wait to work with this person. Okay? You write out those characteristics. And from there, you create your red velvet rope policy. Because usually when you think of red velvet rope, it's like you got to wait behind it to get in the club, right? To be on the list. So who's going to make it on that list for you? And those are the people that you want to work with. And if you're starting out or you feel like you need a lot of clients, you should still have one. The biggest mistake I ever made was to not have one at all. And I just took anybody who would pay. That was just like a nightmare. It costed me more at the end of the day. So the thing is, you can keep your rope tight or you can loosen it up depending on how intimate you want to be with them. And then also depending on your circumstances, but have something and have that as your red velvet rope policy.
Yeah. And so Alex, I see your question. Newsletter, I try to get everybody a newsletter. If you come through and you spend $50, you pay for yourself, essentially. Because the newsletters cost about $3 or $4 per month. Now, I have an Upsell, I have a book, I have a book, an audio book, and then I have an Upsell of a course. And that course is, I think, $297. And as long as if you pay for the course, you can have this entire stack because all of this stuff costs way less than that price. So I mitigate or I supplement or complement with the digital products, right? So if you come through and you buy that course that's worth $297, if somebody pays $297, they can have all of this stuff. I don't have to send all of it, but they've paid for their own marketing in a way. Does that help? Does that make sense? Okay.
This is also related to a question that Craig asked. He says, do you recommend putting bounce back offers at the back of the book? But I think, Rome, you kind of answered this by showing all the follow-up that you do. You're putting offers on everything. So yes, you can absolutely put an offer in your book, but they're going to have many, many, many more opportunities to see your offer.
Yes, I do recommend that. And when we're in your book, you're going to do one in the beginning, one in the end. But that's why we create other stuff, because you can start to make other offers all around. In the first book that I did, I was telling you about, it was no call to action in there because I didn't have that process yet. But I had a sales letter that had a direct call to action. Here's what you do. Here's how to get in touch with me. And it was working. So yeah, I do recommend. I recommend my favorite quote of the day: version 1 is better than version 9. I recommend that first, and then we reiterate and start to add the other stuff.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions about what Jerome has showed us here?
Jeff, I do use fulfillment. I'll try to get Leanna like a checklist of the people that I recommend. So I do a combination, but yeah, I do have like a list of some people that I recommend, but it like complicates. So we try not to add too much because it'll complicate and overwhelm people. And the most important thing is to get your staple done, which is the book. And then you can start to add in and do other stuff.
Mhm.
Who
Thanks
actually
for that.
does the publishing?
What do you mean publishing?
Makes the book for the physical book.
Amazon. I use Amazon, but there's, like Leanna said, local print shops. But I use Amazon. One of the reasons I use Amazon is because it is how much do you think it would cost to print a book? Just guess. That's Jeff. What do you think it would cost?
I think you're looking at $5 to $10 a copy.
Mark, what do you think?
I was going to say $50.
Okay. Alan, what do you think?
$3.
Okay. Alex?
I'm also free.
Yeah, it's $3. So
Wow.
it's very inexpensive, right? Compared to, like, if you go, I had a client, she has her book over here. I think she paid $50 to get this printed. It's an ebook, and it was
You have to buy. You
color,
can't
so
just
it
buy
boosted
one
the
though,
price.
right? You have to buy a few.
Yeah. No, on Amazon you can print one. You can do one.
Okay.
Yeah, so on Amazon you can do one, but she did $50 for this. It's like, it's a good book, but it's like flimsy and stuff like that, and it was $50. So on Amazon, when you do it like through the Amazon way, it only costs you $3 to get it printed, and you can print one up to, I think, 1,000. So that's also part of the reason why I do it.
Hardcover or soft cover?
Soft covers are $3. The hard covers I don't know offhand. So,
But you could also, by the way, expand what Jerome, again, depending on what you're doing, you could add lump email as well if you want to too. You can go to Alibaba or somewhere like that, order a whole bunch of different little things and put it in there. If you read the book, The Ultimate Sales Machine, it's an amazing book, by the way. I'm sure Jerome has it right there on his shelf somewhere, but
Yep.
he actually goes through in detail how he sends these little tchotchkes and to his dream clients, every 2 weeks. They always come up with something like a little mini flashlight, and then the message is like, are you in the dark about your marketing? Or a little mini Rubik's cube, puzzled, things like
I forgot
that.
that's one part I forgot to show y'all, but that is I include this. I include a Rubik's Cube in my thing, like what Leanna just said. She said, are you in the dark about marketing? I say, are you confused? And here's something, I'm transparent. I say, are you confused about marketing? Let us unscramble your marketing. And I send this, and this is something that sits on their desk and they can use it, right? This is part of what I include in that package. Who else is doing this stuff? Not a lot of people. And I have like a list of recommendations, but yeah, go ahead, Leanna.
Yeah. So get that book. It's an excellent book, but he goes in detail about how he does it. I saw somebody who you can be very creative. At one of the Tony Robbins events where they were talking about this, somebody got up in the crowd and she said she wanted to show this progression. I think she had like hair salons or something like that. So she bought, little troll dolls. So she bought them and she would send them in succession, and each one would have longer and longer hair. They would get it. But in the book, like Chet Holmes, he's now passed away, and his daughter, Amanda, she's awesome. She's running the company now. But he said he once went to, he finally got the meeting with the person he wanted to. And when he went to the guy's meeting, the guy had all the little gifts lined up on his desk that he had sent him over time. So, it just depends, how badly you want to get in front of people and what it's worth for you as a lifetime value of the customer.
Yes. And so I want to make you an offer like lively. And basically what I've done is I have a partner where I'll like partner up to do some of that stuff, Rubik's Cubes, dolls, pill balls, stuff like that. I got it from like Magnetic Marketing, but his name is Travis. I'm having him on my podcast, I think next week. So for like, I can set him up with you and you can do like an interview like you do. And he can talk about, how to like implement some of this stuff in business. So that's an offer I'm making to you. And I'm doing so people that want to like go the extra mile and do that stuff and have that impact, you can like outsource it if you're interested in doing that. So
yeah, get him to do, why don't you have him do an interview with you, and we can put it in the section for the book workshop.
Okay. All right. I'll be happy to do that. So it'll be ready next week. I'll do that.
Awesome. Great. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thoughts, reflections? Or were you kind of like me? Your mouth is just open. What do you guys think? Okay, I see Alan and Alex smiling. What do you guys think?
Yeah, this is awesome. Thanks, guys. Jerome and Liana, this is outstanding.
I'm like, I've never seen
This is
anybody do this
awesome.
before. Never.
No, this is just,
We're
it's
still got more, but
overwhelming, but in a
this
good way.
was yeah. Alex, I know I saw you smiling right away.
This is unbelievable. Like, kudos, Jerome. Really, like I said twice, like you're the next Dom Kennedy. But it's so inspirational. Like when you show the first versions of it, like it's your journey. You grew to that, but there's a path. Like, because when you look at Dom Kennedy, it's like there's this huge wall, like everything, right? But it took him his whole life to build up to that. And you're like in between us and him, like amazing. I would love to be in your target market to get this kind of package,
Yes.
That's what you want people to feel, right? I like to be reminded that you just said, hey, somebody had a question, so I answered them with a book. Scott Bell, who is director of program training for Jay Abraham, he told us, do that. And you guys can all do this now for your books. He said, when you're doing content and videos and stuff, he said, do top 10 questions, top 10 frequently asked questions, top 10 should ask questions. What are questions people should ask you? And top 10 mistakes. And like, while you were talking, Jerome, I'm like, those are 3 books right there.
Yes, exactly.
Or you could actually create a book as an answer to each one of those questions.
Yeah, and I have a version of that. Like what we did today is we only did 5, but you can go to 10 or 12 or 20. But we did frequently asked questions because it's like easy. But like I showed I don't have that one report, but that report started off my book started off what you should ask. The real estate marketing implementation, these were questions that people should ask, but they weren't asking. The report that I talked about a little bit earlier that became the green book that was the frequently asked questions. And then the mistakes, I haven't turned that one into a book, but that was a report. 11 common social media mistakes that you're making in real estate. So it's that same theme, that same concept, same thing. And each of those became content pieces, just what Scott was talking about on the pro call.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, okay. So
Liana, what was the one that you said after the frequently asked, should ask, and mistakes?
Biggest mistakes.
Biggest mistakes.
Yeah.
I thought there was something you mentioned after that. Then after those
frequently asked questions,
mm-hmm.
should ask questions,
mm-hmm.
and biggest mistakes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that'll get you very far. A lot of different things. And yes, and I agree, Alan, answer the public is another good one to see what are questions people are asking online too. But Jerome, I like how you just went, hey, somebody asked me a question. So if you get a couple of people asking you, just answer it with a book. This all happens to us, right? People all ask us questions.
Yeah, and one of the things I'm an introvert, so I don't want to say the same thing over and over again. So I just create content. And before it was books, it was like, I have a video on that. I'm going to send you that video. Then let's talk. If there's nothing clear about it, let's have a conversation. Same thing. I do the same thing now. It's just books or reports, or like if you go to my YouTube channel, I answer a question. I record everything because it's all content and it's so easy to make it into content these days.
Yep.